Hey, good morning. My name is Enrique Alvarez. I'm with Vector Global Logistics, and I have the pleasure to be here with Christy and our guest of honor, both Roger and Julie with the Feed the Hungry. Christy, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm excited to expose people to Feed the Hungry and also just have them learn a little bit more about what has led to the success of the organization. So I think that's going to be a really, it's a short conversation, but hopefully it'll be really impactful for people watching at home. So yeah, we're excited to have Feed the Hungry on today. We have Julie Reusser, who's the program manager, and Roger Walterhouse, who's the director of ministry programs. And if anybody out there is not familiar with Feed the Hungry, they are dedicated to feeding the poor and hungry around the world, empowering the church worldwide, and sharing the hope that comes through Jesus Christ. And they are working in 23 countries around the world and doing amazing work. So we're excited to have them for this mini conversation.
Yeah.
A
Thank you for having me.
full life feels good, is what Roger said a minute ago. So a full life feels good. And with that, Roger and Julie, you have worked in many countries. I feel like you're currently shipping to more than 23, if I'm not mistaken, and you've been doing it for a very long time, more than 3 decades. And so the question for you today is like, what makes a good partner? I imagine, and you talked a little bit about some of the stories that you've had with different countries, but what makes a good partner, especially for you and your company, from the food that you distribute to the ministry partners on the ground and
Yeah,
all the
so
moving parts? Go ahead.
for us, I think what makes a good partner is somebody who is of like mind and somebody who is already doing what we really want to be doing, is feeding hungry children. So we're looking for partners who have a feeding ministry already established, who have, the doors have been kind of opened, individuals who are familiar with the challenges of logistics and getting food into the nations where we're sending that. And so for us, partner is somebody who's like-minded, somebody who's willing to work with us, somebody who is flexible to adjust to the challenges that logistics oftentimes bring into the equation. And really individuals who we are going to be able to get the feedback from them on how our programs are changing their communities they're working in.
Fantastic. And Julie, for your part, so in working with lots of nonprofits, I know that sometimes they have a hard time collaborating. Sometimes there's a scarcity of resources or donor mentality that comes with that. So for other nonprofits, what advice would you give to leaders who may have that perception, who are scared to work with other nonprofits with that scarcity mindset in general, or wondering if there's enough donations to go around or how the logistics work together? But what advice would you give to leaders that may have that perception, and how have partnerships benefited Feed the Hungry?
Yeah, so I think that my advice would just be that, and we touched on this earlier, there is plenty of food to go around in this world. We have the resources if you're looking at it from a global perspective. And the thing is, there's so many various organizations doing similar things to what we're doing. We're unique in some of our regards, as is each organization. They have their own je ne sais quoi and like little niches. But for the most part, like, if we could collaborate and work together, we're going to get a lot further. If we're sharing like-mindedness and the same vision, which is truly to see people who are hungry be fed and to have betterment in life, then we should be running this race together, right? And I think something huge that we have learned through what we receive from donors and what we have the opportunity to give away if it doesn't work for us. Our president always says, we need to stay in our lane, right? So our lane is feeding hungry kids. That's what we do. And sometimes we'll receive offers for things that might not be the best fit for us, but we're very quick to reach out to organizations that are doing similar things to us and to see if they can utilize it. If it makes more sense for them to pick it up because they're in a different part of the United States. Or for example, I just got some feedback from Food for the Poor, where we had set up a donation for them to receive like 20 tons or a 20-foot container. So it might've been 20 tons of corn seed. Right. And so what they did is they were able to import that to Haiti. And he just sent me a photo this last week of the corn that had been fully grown. And it was Wow. Beautiful, because we were able to share this connection and this resource that we had because we knew they were going to be able to utilize it and they were going to be able to make something amazing out of it. And now they're feeding this entire community because they had the people to be able to put their foot to the ground and to be able to plant it and to harvest it and to tend to it. And so, I think my advice for other leaders would be is, if you're willing to share what you have, we're a faith-based organization, and I truly believe the Lord is going to return to us what we give away, right? And not in a karma sort of thing at all, but everything is his anyways. So we just share what we have, and we trust that we know these people's vision and these organizations' visions and what they're doing. And, we might not be the ones that can do it, but we trust that they can, and they can see it through. And, so we might get an offer for something that doesn't exactly go with what our lane is. And so then we find somebody who it would work for them. And it's just, when we can all run this race together, we're so much more productive. We're going to see more results. And if I have this vision of all the NGOs doing similar sort of things that we're doing, and just kind of laying over the map of where there's actually the work being done. And it's I bet there is a lot in the same concentrated areas, but I bet there's these remote areas where we try, our partners try to get to those remote areas that nobody's reaching yet. They might not even, Roger mentioned one in a little while ago about the government didn't even know these people group existed. In what country was that?
It's in Honduras.
In Honduras. And so it's there are so many people out there that have a need. And I think the only way that we're going to get to them is if we run together.
I think a critical piece too is that we extend trust that we would want extended to us.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we don't do everything super. We feed hungry kids. We don't put wells in. We don't build schools. So when somebody comes and says, "Can you build a school?" Well, we won't do that because we feed hungry kids. But we know some organizations that do a great job in building schools.
Mhm.
Can you put a well in? Well, probably not, but we do know some companies that do a great job in putting in wells. And so again, we extend the trust to these organizations so that when somebody comes and says to them, "Do you feed hungry kids?" We don't feed hungry kids. We put wells in, but we know Feed the Hungry, and they do a great job in feeding hungry kids. And so there's a trust that we extend to people that are kind of running the same race that we're running, and hope that in return, they'll extend that trust back to us.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to kind of help you kind of fulfill that vision that you usually just expressed. And I completely agree with you that we're all in this together. We're all part of the same planet, whether we like it or not. And so I think that just sharing is easier and better and more efficient.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. And thank you so much for sharing your advice. Hopefully that people are listening out there are not only inspired by your example and your leadership, but they're also kind of willing to take the next step, contacting Feed the Hungry, and really trying to just build this team together so we can continue to run the race together, as Julie so eloquently put it. So thank you once again. You guys inspire us, and we're super happy to be working with you and play even a small part in your amazing cause. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Roger and Julie. We're so excited to have you here today and excited for people to learn from you. And for those of you watching at home, thank you so much for joining us. And if you enjoyed this interview and want to hear more advice and lessons from nonprofits and social impact companies like you, then be sure to hit subscribe.
Thanks all. Take care.
See you.
It was
Have a
so
good
to
week.
See
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Changer, history maker, world changer, history